Good evening, my Rotarians and guests. My name is Dasun, and I'm your MC for this Rotary meeting. First of all, we would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri and the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, and also pay our respects to elders past, present, and future, and extend that respect to all Indigenous Australians who are present today. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 19th meeting of this Rotary year. We are also we have a very special guest speaker here today, Dr. Genevieve Hayes, who's the AI specialist. I will be talking about emerging technologies and the future of business. So love to have you, Doctor. She will be introduced in with much more detail by Sana Malik today. Also, we have a very long list of visitors joining us today, especially online. We have from Luxembourg, Dr. Christopher Schumer, who's the co-director of CoLab, which is an affiliate of University of Luxembourg. Christoph is joining us. I think he's already there. Lovely to have you, Doctor. And then also we have Edwin Ikpu, who's also joining us through Zoom. Over here we have Rajendra Gautam, who's joining us from Rotary Club of Kathmandu. Welcome, Rajendra. Then also we have Sally Armstrong from the Rotary Club of Gisborne. Then we have two guests joining us, Shiren, who is guest of Yidan, and Vanessa Hall, guest of John. We warmly welcome you to our meeting. A reminder is evening meetings are actually organized by a special group of people. We have Stefan, Yidan, and Sana, and George. That's right.
And you do a great job. Well,
Yes, yours truly. And we always organize evening meetings every second Wednesday of the month in hybrid format. Before we hand over the meeting to our chairman, we have a couple of notices, and I would like to invite President Adrian to.
That's right. Well, good evening, everyone. Hello, welcome to the Lyceum Club on behalf of Rotary Club of Melbourne. It's great to see you all here. So, just a reminder: November in Rotary is Foundation Month. Those who would have come to our lunchtime meeting last week would have met Larry Lunsford, who's the Vice Trustee of the Rotary Foundation. So it was a real honour to have Larry come and talk to our club and to a few of our members before the meeting as well to discuss our international projects. But the Rotary International Foundation supports a lot of worthy projects around the world, including peace and global scholars and exchanges as well. As we've already heard, they're visiting our club today from the Rotary Club of Kathmandu is Rotarian Rajendra Gautam. And Rajendra is here from Nepal on a vocational exchange, which was hosted by the Rotary Club of Baldwin and Rotary Club of Macedon Rangers. And that's why Samantha from Macedon Rangers Rotary, not Gisborne, has hosted Rajendra for some vocational visits. And I always like to think the Macedon Rangers is like the Kathmandu or the Nepal of Victoria, really. So very similar. Very similar. But it does feel like it sometimes. So. Anyway, but I know, Rajendra, you'd like to exchange a flag with us today and also talk briefly about your time in Australia. So if you'd like to come up to us as well. So, welcome. And just so you know, we're on the camera here as well. So those of our online viewers, they can see as well.
Thank you, President. I feel very privileged to be in the meeting of Rotary Club of Melbourne. In 2020, due to COVID, we lost almost 12,000 plus people over there in Nepal due to lack of oxygens and all sorts of things. With the help of Rotary Club of Melbourne, we were able to establish pathology lab, PCR lab in one of the first maternity hospital of Nepal to save the life of newly born babies and mothers. And on behalf of Rotary Club of Kathmandu, I would like to thank the club for supporting that project. And I'm over here as a vocational visit under the New Generations Service Exchange Program of Rotary International. Since the beginning, I'm visiting DIT, donation in kind. I also visited Disaster Australia and different Rotary clubs, including Mesaran Ranges, Bendigo, Balai, and where I feel very privileged to be a part of those meetings and making new friends. Thank you so much for the help last day in 2020. And on behalf of Kathmandu Rotary Club, I do have a flag want to exchange with President. Thank you.
Wonderful, so thank you. Very good. And Bruce, you can take a photo? Oh, I thought you had, oh, Robert, here we go. Look, we got photos everywhere. Fantastic. Well done. So you take that one and I take that one. So that's good.
The pathology lab is helping around 100 people each year.
That's right. One more photo for Bruce, is it?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you very much, Rajendra. That's right. That's right. I've just got a few extra notices as well. So annually, our club supports disadvantaged young people continue their education by fundraising and contributing to Smith Family Learning for Life program. So I'm just going to invite Jim Orchard to come and launch the final leg of our fundraising for this project for the year.
Thank you, President Adrian. So I'm going to give you a very quick update on the Round the Bay event. It was held exactly a month ago today, and also, as Adrian said, to announce the start of our final fundraising activity for Round the Bay, which is silent auction. So the ride itself, and I know there's some folks here that were involved in it as route marshals and what have you, went well. The weather was mostly good, a little bit of rain, but no major rain, and most importantly, there was no major safety incidents, which is what we have to do as route marshals or SAG wagon aficionados, is to help people in that perspective. So from our overall Rotary involvement, we had over 100 volunteers, which is, I think, fantastic. That's from 8 different clubs, so not just from our club, but our club is the sort of lead, takes the lead on that from a Rotary point of view. We filled positions from Sorrento all the way around to Williamstown and a whole bunch of points in between. So as most of you will know, our primary motivation for being involved with the Round the Bay is to raise funds for the Smith Families Learning for Life program, which helps students from disadvantaged families achieve their full potential at school and university. So that to that end, we're on track to raise about $25,000 this year, which is a great result. We've been over $20,000 for the last half dozen years, so it's great that we're able to keep that up. And in terms of our final push to reach the target, I'm going to launch our silent auction. Historically, we had auctions at the meetings, but we've sort of moved over COVID to a silent auction format, and we've kept with that. So everyone will have got an email, or club members will have got an email. Sorry, tomorrow we'll get an email. Let me check my tense there. We'll be getting an email. Won't be going to Luxembourg, but 15 high quality auction items. The bidding details are on the flyer. It's done via email. The silent auction will close on Tuesday, the 22nd of November at noon, so high noon. And whoever's got the highest bid for the various items gets it. So this, as I said, will be the final Round the Bay fundraiser for the year, so you won't hear from me again. Well, not formally anyway, but you will again next year as we gear up for next year's Round the Bay.
Well done, Jim. And those who can't wait for your email to hit tomorrow, and I'm sure that's most of you in this room. So those of you who are on our Facebook page would have already seen the Facebook post ready to go. So just click on that link and go. But also if you go to our website, then there's a big tile right there. Click on that and you can start your bids. Now there are some great prizes. So as soon as you finish tonight, and for those of you online, including Luxembourg, then you can bid too. That's good. So just want to advise, I guess, those who are here tonight and those who are online that I won't be around next week. Oh, that's right. If you're lucky, I might beam in just like some of our business. That's right. Thank you, Mary. And that's because I'm going to be leading a delegation from our club to Osaka, where we will visit the Rotary Club of Osaka, which is our sister club, to celebrate their centenary next week. So,
Club visit.
yes, that's correct. In the club visit. So thank you, John Pervity, as a inter-club person. So, past President Robert Fisher, who's here tonight, and some others are joining me, and it's going to be a wonderful trip, not only for the celebrations, but also some other things that have been organised. So, our Lord Mayor Sally Capp. Here we go. Getting used to camera two. I'm on camera two now. So Melbourne, of course, the city of Melbourne is sister cities with the city of Osaka. So we're really delighted that our Lord Mayor Sally Capp, who's an honorary member of our club, has organised a visit for us to have a personal meeting with the Lord Mayor of Osaka as well whilst we're there. So we've got lots of other things going on, including visits to Hiroshima and Kyoto and some other things too. So stay tuned, come along to our meeting in a couple of weeks and we'll report all on it. But without further ado, it's time to move on to what we're all here for today. And I'll introduce our chair of the day, Sana,
Thank you.
to carry on the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Louise.
Yes.
Thank you.
Am I in the right spot? Yes,
You are.
okay. Dr. Genevieve Hayes, the lovely lady sitting there, is the director of Genevieve Hayes Consulting and AI and Analytics Consultancy, which is focused on helping organisations maximise the value of their data. She has experience in technical, leadership and academic roles through which she has applied cutting-edge statistical and machine learning techniques to a wide range of business problems, including image and text classification, social network analysis, as well as psychometric assessment design. Genevieve is a fellow of the Institute of Actuaries of Australia and holds a PhD in statistics from the Australian National University and a master's in computer science from the Georgia Institute of Technology. In this presentation, Dr. Hayes explores some of the emerging technologies that are likely to have a significant impact on businesses in the next 5 to 10 years, along with the ethical implications of using these technologies and what businesses can do now to avoid being left behind. So without further ado, a big warm welcome to Dr. Genevieve Hayes.
So, who here watches the TV show Succession? Anyone? Good. I had this nightmare that everyone would ignore, would have never seen it. That would have been Falling Black. Okay, I'm a bit late to the party, so I only just started watching it recently. In case you're unfamiliar with the series, it's about a group of siblings who are all fighting for control of a family media empire, and they're all horrible people. Early in the first season, which is where I'm at the moment, one of the siblings who's just been made acting CEO of the family business meets with his new executive team to discuss the existential threat presented by new technologies, such as the internet. If the company can't find a way to leverage these technologies, they're, to quote this character, going to be like the biggest horse trader in Detroit in 1909. Now, Succession is a work of fiction, but many of the business challenges portrayed in the series are not. The business opportunities of tomorrow are driven by the emerging technologies of today. And given the rapid pace of change in the technological landscape, many businesses of today are faced with the choice between two options. Start preparing for the impact of emerging technologies now, or go the way of the horse traders after the invention of the automobile. But how do you prepare for something if you don't know what it looks like? Well, tonight I'm going to provide a brief introduction to the emerging technologies with the potential to have the greatest impact on organisations over the next few years, and the implications of those technologies for the future of business. Now, I've used the term emerging technologies several times in this presentation so far. What do I mean by that? Well, emerging technologies are new technologies or applications of existing technologies, which are still under development that are expected to be available in the next 5 to 10 years, if they're not already, and are expected to have significant impact on society and the economy. Some examples, which will appear on the screen in a second, include things like robotics, drones, virtual reality, and augmented reality. That weird ape thing in the middle, that's an example of a non-fungible token, which is an artwork that's built on top of the blockchain. And this is something that I struggled to believe. Apparently, those things can sell for about $350,000 US. And people,
Just to be.
yeah. Apparently, people like Madonna collect them. So I don't know. Some people have more money than they know what to do with. But you also have things like 3D printing, AI and machine learning, quantum computing, nanotechnology, cloud computing, all those buzzwords that you probably hear every second day on the radio, on TV. Now, all these technologies are expected to impact the world in which we live. Yet not all of them will impact every business or sector of the economy. Some of these technologies are commercially available right now, but still have a lot of room for future growth. So something like drones. If you go down to the beach on a nice day, you'll probably find someone playing with their toy drone. But I'm sure that they're, in the future, they'll be capable of a lot more than just flying around on the beach. And same with 3D printing. You can buy stuff that's been 3D printed nowadays, but I've read in the papers that one day they expect to be able to print new livers for people using 3D printing. And I think that would be fantastic if they could do that. Other technologies such as quantum computing or autonomous vehicles are only available with limited functionality or not at all. So with quantum computing, I was reading in the newspaper that they do have quantum computers up and running that people can use now. So Google, for example, offers that for use for a quantum computer for use for research purposes. But as yet, there isn't a practical business application of quantum computing. However, two emerging technologies that have already developed to the point where they are commercially available at an affordable price and have the potential to be applied across a wide range of industries are cloud computing and artificial intelligence, which includes machine learning. Now, I'm sure everyone in this room has already come across cloud technologies, either through their work or at home. This meeting's on Zoom, so we've got cloud technology here. Oh, not that one yet. We're not up to robots. So cloud computing is just the delivery of IT resources over the internet. And this might take the form of infrastructure as a service, where a cloud service provider offers access to their physical infrastructure, such as servers, databases, etc., over the internet. And a business can then build their own IT systems on top of that. So that'd be something like Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud Platform. Alternatively, we also have software as a service, which is just internet-based software like Zoom, Gmail, Xero, anything like that. 10 years ago, many organisations, especially those in the cloud sector, in the government sector, had policies preventing data from being stored in the cloud. So I used to work in the government sector and we used to run up against those policies all the time. Those same organisations are now adopting cloud-first policies. So, for example, the Victorian government has recently issued a set of digital technology guidelines. And one of those guidelines is that on-premise physical infrastructure should only be invested in if the cloud is unsuitable. Now, some of the often quoted key benefits of cloud computing are things like reduced IT costs, rapid deployment, scalability, greater reliability. There's some debate over some of these, but one benefit of cloud computing, which many people overlook, is that it's an enabler of artificial intelligence. Now, when I say AI or artificial intelligence, what's the first thing that springs to your mind? Yes, and we have our robot slide now. Yay! So thanks to TV and all the hype around AI, what a lot of people think of when you say AI is humanoid robots like C-3PO or Wall-E or the Terminator. At Tesla's AI Day this year, Elon Musk demonstrated Optimus, which was a prototype humanoid robot with the potential to form the basis for a future robot workforce. So Optimus walked out and Elon introduced him and he demonstrated watering some plants. And apparently last year, they'd also had a robot walking out at AI Day, but it was actually a man in a robot suit. So the fact that they actually got a robot out that didn't have a person inside it, this actually tells you how much the technology has progressed in the last 12 months. And yes, robotics is one application of artificial intelligence, but humanoid robot workers are likely to be beyond the needs or capabilities of many businesses, both now and in 10 years' time. I don't think any of us are going to end up going to work and sitting in the next cubicle to Optimus anytime soon. Now, AI in general is much broader and generally more mundane than robots. And there are a lot of applications of it that are far more accessible to businesses right now. So artificial intelligence is any system or machine that can mimic human intelligence. And this might involve something very complex, like whatever is under the hood of Optimus, or it could be as simple as a set of rules that are programmed into a piece of software. So, for example, I have an insurance background, and one thing an insurer might try and do is they might try and want to program their computer system to automatically flag any policy applications that meet several criteria. So they might want to identify any applications for insuring high performance cars that cost over $100,000 with a driver that's under 25 years old. Now, that flagging process could be done by a human, obviously, but it could also be done using a very simple set of rules that could be programmed into a computer using about 3 lines of code. It's about 5 minutes work. And that in itself is just a very, very simple example of AI, because a computer is being programmed to automate human decision making. Now, most AI you see these days is a bit more complicated than that. Although simple rules might be used at the start of the system, for example, to reduce the volume of data that's needed to be processed. In fact, these days, most AI systems are based on a branch of AI known as machine learning. Now, machine learning is all about using computers to find patterns in large data sets without human assistance. There are several different types of machine learning, which I won't go into, but the most common type of machine learning is supervised learning, which is all about fitting models to data to predict either a numeric outcome. So you might be predicting what price is a house going to sell at auction given a set of characteristics. Or it might be to classify observations into categories. For example, is this a photo of a cat or a dog? Or is this document relevant or not relevant? You've probably come across several examples of machine learning today alone, without even realizing it. Some common examples of machine learning that you might have come across include things like the spam filter that's built into your email program, virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa, those content recommendations that you find if you go on Amazon, you know, people who like this also like this sort of thing, chatbots, offensive content filtering, fraud detection with your bank, things like that. As you'd expect, some of these models are very hard to build with an acceptable level of accuracy from scratch. They can require huge quantities of relevant data and massive compute power, both of which may be beyond many smaller businesses, unless those businesses are tech-focused, such as an AI startup. However, that doesn't mean smaller non-tech focused businesses can't make use of AI. Pre-built models exist for common use cases. So some of the pre-built models that I've just used in jobs that I've done have included things like translation, audio, so speech to text transcription, optical character recognition, which is extracting text from images, and sentiment analysis, to name a few. These models can be accessed directly via an API, so that's just a line of code that you'd build into your code if you're writing a computer program. And those are offered by cloud service providers like Google or Amazon, or through commercial software tools that basically make use of these same models under the hood. To give you an idea of the power of what's available right now, I'm going to show you some examples that I created using the pre-built models that are available through Amazon Web Services. So, first example is a text analysis example. So this is a paragraph of text that I just, about interest rate rises, that I took from an article that was on news.com.au. This was back in July. So this is the first paragraph of that article. And it basically says that even though the RBA is almost certain to raise the cash rate back in July, it won't be as large as many people fear. So essentially, this was a good news story. I passed this text through a pre-built model to identify key facts in the text, and then through a sentiment analysis model. So I've highlighted the key facts that this model identified, and you can see it was able to identify things like a nationality, so Australian, several organisations, so the Reserve Bank, RBA and UBS, a person in Philip Lowe, location, so Zurich, and several dates and numbers. So this is very useful for organisations that are wanting to tag documents or extract key facts from those, or to tag reviews that might be mentioning their company or their products online. I also passed this through sentiment analysis, and it got a sentiment score of 0.8064. So that's on a scale that goes from -1 to 1. So the fact that it's close to 1 means that it's got a positive sentiment. And this is something that might be useful for a company that's wanting to identify positive versus negative reviews of products or survey results. Okay. The next example is an example of extracting text, extracting and translating text from an image. So this is just a stock photo that I found on the internet of some text in French. I passed this through optical character recognition, and it was able to extract just about all of the text. For some reason, it didn't extract the final word. I'm not quite sure why, because it seems pretty clear, but did a pretty good job of all of the others. Then after I'd extracted it, I passed it through a translation model. It identified that language as French, so I didn't have to tell it was French, and then it translated it. Now, I don't speak French, but I asked a friend of mine who did, and they tell me it's a good translation. I'm willing to believe them on that one. And the third example, this is an example of detecting objects and faces in images. So pass these images through an object tagging model and through a facial recognition model. And with the picture on the left, you can see some of the tags that it identified with things like bicycle, transportation, vehicle, wheel, walkway, path, garage. So this is very useful if you're trying to identify all the photos of bicycles, for example. And with the second one, I deliberately tried to choose the hardest possible image I could find. So that's why I chose people with the COVID masks. And it was still able to detect the two faces in those images, which I thought was pretty good, given the fact that you can only see them from their eyes up. And I've marked where the faces were detected with those green boxes, so I added those. And this facial detection model also tries to predict the gender and the age range of these people. So it predicted that these people were teenagers, and it predicted they were both female, although I think the person on the right might actually be a male. But still, it's a pretty good job for a machine, I think. Now, not every business is going to have a use case for each of these models that I just demonstrated. I actually did use these in a job that in my previous job, where we actually worked with large volumes of text and images and audio, and we passed all of those through these sorts of models as they are received, so that we could extract information from them. And then we kept a database of it, which made it a lot easier to search through those files, so images, etc., than if we had been having to search through audio and images manually. But my purpose in demonstrating them is to give you an idea of the level of sophistication of AI that is commercially available now, just to regular people. So this is something that I could afford to do just in my living room on my laptop. And these were all created using a 5-year-old laptop in the space of an afternoon, using Amazon Web Services cloud tools that only cost me a few cents to make use of. Now, whenever I give a presentation on AI, 2 questions I always get asked at the end are, what are the ethics around using AI, and what about fairness and discrimination? So I'm going to preempt those questions, and I'm going to answer them now. And I think they are actually very fair questions. And I think it's good that people are asking them. I would actually be worried if people weren't asking them. Over the last few years, there have been several prominent examples in the media of cases where organisations have used AI and things have gone horribly wrong. For example, here in Australia, we've just had robo-debt resurfacing in the newspaper. So I actually feel really sorry for the ATO over that one. I'm sure that there was just some poor junior person who came up with that brilliant idea and just didn't think it through. But it was a fiasco, let's face it. The ATO made use of an automated debt recovery system for identifying and collecting overpayments of welfare, but there was a flaw in the system which led to $1.763 billion of unlawfully claimed debt. Some people were affected by it to the point where they are committing suicide, and a royal commission resulted. I mean, okay, I'm sure it could have gotten worse, but that's a pretty bad scenario. There was also the case of Clearview AI, which was a facial recognition tool targeted at law enforcement. And that made use of a database of images collected from social media sites to identify people. This tool was trialled by the Australian Federal Police, And my understanding was they're actually trialing it in order to try and identify victims of crime. So they weren't trying to use it to identify criminals, they're actually trying to use it to help people. However, it was later found to have breached Australia's privacy laws because those images that the tool made use of had been illegally scraped from people's Facebook sites and similar. No one wants to be in the middle of something like that. Just because you can do something, it doesn't mean you should. And my experience is that most people and businesses want to do the right thing. I'm sure the ATO and the AFP didn't set out to harm anyone or to violate anyone's human rights. But people don't always know what the right thing looks like. And until recently, a lot of data scientists haven't actually received any training in things like ethics and AI. Their only training has been, how do we get the most accurate model in a situation? As a result, a lot of organisations, including governments, big tech companies, and international bodies like the OECD, have developed ethical frameworks to assist people in the responsible use of AI. We actually need to jump to forward because I actually got one. So one up to that. So one such framework is the Australian government's voluntary AI ethics principles. So I've put these principles on the slide, but what they basically amount to is that if you're going to use AI, make sure you're being respectful of people's human rights and privacy, and be particularly careful if the outcome of an AI system could significantly affect someone's life. What that means is you're probably not going to run into any issues if you're using AI to identify, I don't know, images of endangered birds in the Tasmanian wilderness, for example. But if you're using AI to sort job applications or to identify unpaid debt, for example, you might need to give some thoughts to the implications of what you're doing. A lot of ethical problems can be mitigated if AI is used as a tool to assist humans in their decision-making, rather than to replace humans altogether. So the robo-debt fiasco would have been mitigated if, instead of just blindly trusting the algorithm, the people who'd been identified had then been sent to a human monitor for review. So human in the loop that can help avoid a lot of problems. So what does this mean for business? Well, AI and cloud technologies are not just bad. They're now commercially available at an affordable price and present an opportunity for businesses to create an advantage over their competitors in terms of cost, quality, service, and delivery performance. However, due to their widespread availability, these emerging technologies also present a threat to business. If a business doesn't invest in technology or underinvests, that places them at risk of falling behind any competitors who do invest. And that includes startups and international organisations. If you want an example of what can happen to an organisation that doesn't keep pace with technology, you only need to look at Kodak. And I've got another slide to change. Yeah. Yeah, next slide. Yes. That's okay, I can keep going without them. Yeah, okay, so you only need to look at Kodak. At one point, Kodak was a world-leading photographic company. In 2012, it filed for bankruptcy protection. There we go. That tells you about Kodak. I think it sums it all up. Oh yeah, and you can still get it, still exists, but it's a shadow of the former self.
Bit like me.
Yeah. And you heard the story. Kodak invented their own digital camera, but they buried it because it would have cannibalized their film sale. Yeah. That was one of history's great dumb moves, I think. But the purpose of this presentation isn't to frighten you. The fact that these technologies are called emerging technologies means there's still time. For organisations that are looking to get started with these technologies, I'd say, first of all, spend some time understanding what they're all about. And this is called technological literacy. And it's something that I help people with through my own business. It isn't about everyone learning how to program a computer or become a data scientist. It's about developing a high-level understanding of the building blocks of AI and data-driven solutions, and the strengths and weaknesses of any relevant technologies, so you can make informed and effective strategic decisions in the technology space. After that, the next step is learning to ask the right questions. So rather than asking questions like, how can I use the emerging technologies I've learned about in my organisation, which is basically a hammer in search of a nail type question, what you should do is focus on what it will take for your organisation to be successful in the medium term and the changes that you'll need to make to achieve that. And then ask, how can emerging technologies support those changes? We're at the dawn of an era of rapid technological advancement that has the potential to cause societal changes on the scale of the Industrial Revolution. It's no longer a matter of if these changes are going to happen, it's a matter of when. There's a lot of uncertainty about what the future will hold. For example, a recent study found that 36% of surveyed AI researchers considered it plausible that decisions made by AI or machine learning systems could cause a catastrophe this century that is at least as bad as an all-out nuclear war. Yeah. Yeah. I read that in the paper over my morning breakfast. Yeah, not a nice thing to wake up to. Yeah. But 2/3 think it's not going to happen. But uncertainty is a fact of life. I mean, 2 years ago, we didn't expect to be the most lockdown state in the whole, well, most lockdown location in the whole of the world. So, yeah, we can handle uncertainty. What is certain, though, is that pretending this isn't happening and doing nothing is no longer a viable option. And now is the time to take action. Become technologically literate and start asking how emerging technologies can enable your business to achieve future success. Because emerging technologies are what the future of business is all about.
Thank you. We've got a few questions on the chat, but I'm sure there's a lot of questions in the room they want to pick your brains on. Okay. I have one to start us off. So we're seeing a lot of emerging themes at the moment of cybersecurity, yes, and a lot of breaches of data.
Yes.
So if you were to consult this great club here, where we do have some data in the cloud and protected in other foundational services, as well as current companies now, what's your advice to them in terms of using emerging technologies to support them and protect them against this current thing?
Okay, so firstly, I'm not a cybersecurity expert. So I would say, first of all, engage a cybersecurity expert.
Sounds like a good plan, yeah.
But I've been speaking to a lot of organisations about their concerns around the use of data and AI. And three themes that I've found, and they tend to go in stages as the organisations mature. First of all, the biggest theme is cybersecurity. So when you're getting your data into whatever database you've got, be it on-premise or in the cloud, organisations need to make sure that data is secure. And that's when you bring in your cybersecurity experts. Then once you start using that data, because you can't just lock down your data and never touch it, because that'd be a waste, then you start worrying about privacy. Who can see that data? And that's when you bring in your data privacy experts. And a lot of those have legal backgrounds. And then finally, the next step is when you're starting to make use of models, what are the ethics and fairness around using these models?
Thank you. Do we have any questions in the room before we go to the chat?
I have a question. First of all, thank you very much for
Thank you very
the speech. So when it's come to application of AI in business, businesses, what's the coolest thing you've seen in the 2-3 years?
Okay, so as I said, I've been speaking to a lot of organisations about how they're using data and AI. And the thing that really blew my mind, I can't mention sort of the name of the organisation, but it was an organisation that was looking at ways to reduce their electricity bills by working out when to switch on fans. So this organisation deals with infrastructure assets. They'd built a digital twin of this infrastructure asset and then had built all these predictive models to work out things like airflow and car exhaust pollution and all that in order to work out the optimal times in order to switch on ventilation fans in order to reduce their electricity usage. And I think they'd cut it by maybe a quarter or a third. And that just totally blew my mind.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary.
I'm Mary.
So when you were talking about Rolodex, you mentioned human interventions.
Yes.
And humans have been brought in at a point of time. Maybe this could have been sort of avoided. How much human intervention do we need in technology at the moment and as it evolves? And are we getting enough human involvement?
It depends on the consequences of what you're doing. So if a decision is only, is this bird an endangered bird or not? If the decision that's made there is wrong, then that's probably not the end of the world. And same with Amazon recommendations. But if you are actually sending out a message to someone that says, you owe this amount of debt to the tax office, you probably better be pretty accurate in that message. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. And I think the big concern I have is when you start getting into things like autonomous weapons. Do you want artificial intelligence to decide whether to kill someone or not? That is about the biggest consequence you can have of AI, or the most pressing consequence you can have. In those sorts of situations where it literally does become a life and death situation, you want a human to be making that final decision. And depending on where you are on that range, you're going to have to decide how much human intervention you have. But at the moment, my experience is most organisations are not at that point where they're actually having to grapple with the issue of, do we need more human intervention? Their greatest issue is actually getting that technology in place in the first place.
Just to follow up, how dangerous the thing is at the moment, people don't or can't understand about and how much importance is required as it evolves. Is there a danger? Is there a risk? Is there something?
I think there is. I think one of the biggest problems is when all this started, as someone I spoke to described it, it was like the Wild West. You know, people were teaching themselves how to use all these technologies, but no one had ever thought about the consequences. It's like Jurassic Park, you know, just because you can bring back dinosaurs from DNA doesn't mean you should. And no one was training people in, you know, should we actually be building a model that's capable of finding people automatically, or in the case of autonomous weapons, actually potentially killing someone? And I think a lot of people are becoming aware that there are consequences to it now. And I know a lot of university academics are now training students as they come through in this. And I think from speaking to people who are working in these organisations, the people who are working in them are now becoming more and more aware. So I think over time we will see people understanding the ethics of AI a lot better. and it will become a lot more governed.
And just on that, Genevieve, we've got Stephen Lake and Christoph also talking about artificial intelligence, but in the high level summary in terms of, text to speech and, imagery to text and how that's used, where do you see the opportunity for AI to be used for good?
Okay. So I actually used to use a lot of these technologies in a government organisation where we were, we can't actually mention the government organisation, but it was one that I can't mention in public. So that will probably give you an idea. And we had so much data that was coming in that we did not have enough staff in order to sort that data. And so we had a whole team of monitors who were reviewing the data as it came in. So images, text, audio, things like that. And the volume of data was increasing, and it got to the point where those staff were so overworked they were threatening to quit. And my boss actually said, you've got a month to solve that problem, because they couldn't afford to hire enough staff to solve the problem. And even if they couldn't approve them in time. And they were basically not looking at certain pieces of data. So any foreign language content was overlooked, and any non-text content was overlooked. So it took longer to process audio or video than it did text. And we basically, I basically designed a pipeline that put together a lot of these tools and automated a lot of this process. So then all the monitors had all the stuff in English language text. So audio is in English language text. Any foreign language text was translated, things like that. They could, things were highlighted, so we created relevancy filters. We created keyword filters based on the text that was extracted, and that drastically reduced the workload of those monitors, and basically it saved that organisation from a massive walkout of staff. And we did that in less than a month.
So I'm just a bit humorous because Stephen's just put on the chat saying the passport office could benefit from AI and the processing of a passport and visas. So it'd be amazing to see how, as you've stipulated, other organisations can use AI in terms of that business practice and for the benefit of the public, or for profit, or for what purpose they're deriving from. So yeah, thank you very much. That concludes Q&A. I will now pass on the vote of thanks. We've got something small for you on coming today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We're not going to send you empty-handed. You have a small gift from us.
Thank you very much.
Hope you like socks. So this is not just socks. These are Rotary socks, and made over here in Melbourne. So and also we have the 100 Moments of Rotary book inside as well. So thank you very much for taking your time to come and show us all the fancy things in the world of AI.
You know, the funny thing is, I was saying, I hope I get socks.
We heard you. Yeah. Yeah.
So I hate it when I get alcohol and socks.
There you go. Thank you very much. Now in closing, I would like to first thank Chair for the day, Sana Malik, and the evening organizing committee, Stefan, George, and Yida. Next week's club meeting will be held at Sofitel number 35 in recognition of Remembrance Day. And our guest speaker will be visual artist and author George Petrov. George will be speaking on the art of sacrifice. So if you'd like to join us, you can actually book yourself on Humanitics. That's it, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. And again, Dr. Genevieve, thank you very much And also we would like to wish President Adrian and the Rotarians safe travels. And hope you'll come back with a lot of lovely stories from Japan. Well, have a good night, everybody. I'll see you all next week.